box around times and a box around sum. And if I do it, then you should also do it, okay? Whatever I write, I want you to write today. Times tells me I'm going to do what? Multiply. What does sum tell me I'm going to do? Add, okay? So this is going to be 50 times something plus something. So what's it going to be 50 times? 45 plus 52. Now, I like this because we get to solve it, okay? Now, I could probably add this in my head, but since it's a test, I think I'm going to write it down and make sure I did it correctly. If I'm writing this, you should also be writing this. So I've got 97. Is that what you got? Yeah. So here we are with 50 times 97. Now there's a little trick for multiplying times 50. Does anybody remember what it is? Just take off the 0. Now if you take off the 0, you have to remember to put it back on. Okay? So we're just going to do 97 times 5, aren't we? Okay? So figure out what that is. What'd you get? 485, but if I put my 0 back on, very good. Okay? We're going to use that take the 0 off strategy quite a bit on this test. All right. Well, this is a review, but the wording is exactly the same. I just changed some of the numbers. Okay, divide the difference between 1,500 and 800 by 5. Now yours says 7, so let me change mine to 7. Because this isn't the correct copy that I've got here. So divide, what does that tell me I'm going to do? Divide. What about difference?
Subtract.
Okay, now here's the thing. I want you to circle by 7 at the end. Go ahead and circle that. That means we need to save it till the end. So let's just write the end. Or the end. Yeah. So this is what it means. I need to have my division at the end of this. If I don't have my division at the end, then I'm not going to be able to get the right answer. And you're going to miss that part. Okay? So what goes inside the parentheses, Miguel? And am I adding it or subtracting it? Subtracting it. So we can do this by doing 15 minus 8. What's that? So 700 divided by 7. What's the answer? 100. Okay, let's go down to the next one. The sum of 4 15s and 16 15s. I guess I better put a box around sum. What does that tell me I'm going to do? Add. Okay. Now, what about 4 15s and 16 15s? Do you remember what we need there? Multiply. Make sure you raise your hand or I pull a stick, okay? All right. So here's what this means. I've got 1 addition sign and 2 multiplication signs. That means I'm going to add 2 multiplication problems together. Write this down. So what goes in the first set of parentheses, Samantha?
4 times 50.
Good. And what goes in the second set of parentheses, Raymond?
4 times 16.
16 times 15. Correct? So I've got 4 15ths and 16 15ths. Now, I've got a little trick to these, and I want to tell you about it. Can't see that very well, but you know the number that you're not multiplying by? Okay? So whatever's not written in unit form, 15s is unit form, add those together first. Or subtract those together. Subtract those from each other first. So this is 4 plus 16 is what?
20.
So I got 20 times 15. Then I only have to do one multiplication problem instead of two. Okay, so Adrian's saying just take off the 0 from the 20. What's 15 times 2?
30.
And could I write it down if I needed to? Yes. And then what do I have to put back on my answer? The 0. Okay, what do I put a box around in this one, boys and girls?
50 times. So, and
Nope.
so.
Good. So I'm going to have a multiplication sign and an addition sign. Correct? Okay, look back at A. See if you can write this one down all by yourself. Look back at A. See what we wrote on A.
Oh, you want us to do the whole equation?
You can find the answer if you want. I'm going to just wait until everyone's writing it down before I write it down. Okay, so 15 times 13 plus 7. So 15 times 20. Wait a minute. I already know the answer to that. What is it?
300.
I think the test is kind of the same. And I really think what I did was I changed 13 plus 7 to something else. Okay? Let's look at E. Oh, no. Now we've got to write it. Do you remember how we did this? It was pretty amazing. We copied.
Can we just look off of A?
Yes, we can look off of A. What else can we look off of?
E
D. What 2 words do I need, though?
times some.
And you've got to get those on there because I want you to do this correctly. So put the box around the multiplication and the addition signs, and then write the words down. Then you're going to go back, look at D. D has times and some. So I get to copy. The only thing I have to change is what? The numbers. All right. So let's start with 10 times. Do you agree?
Yes.
Now, what should I do first when I solve this thing?
375 plus.
Good, because whatever's in the parentheses is what I need to solve first. So I'm going to add that up, standard algorithm, because I want to make sure I'm right. This is a test after all, right? Okay, so I have to solve this problem. 459 is not my answer. I've got to do 10 times 459.
Just add the 0.
Wait a minute. Can I pull sticks? Caden, how are you going to solve this part?
Anything times 10, add the answer.
Anything times 10, add a 0 to the end. So what's the answer?
4,590.
Very good. Gauge. I've got an addition sign and a multiplication sign. What 2 words do I need for those? Good. Sum and times. Wait a minute. That's the two words we just had.
Backwards.
Just backwards. Okay? So I'm going to start with the sum of this time. All right. See if you can finish that. The sum of. All right, so since this is a test, would it be a good idea to add these up?
Yes.
Yeah. So once you add those up, I think you're going to find that the answer is pretty easy to figure out. Did you add those up already? What did you get, Liliana? I agree. The rest of you get 1,000?
Yeah.
So here's what I have to do. 1,000 times 14. Write that down if you haven't. 14,000. Now, I'm telling you right now, if you will practice this today when you get home, tonight, or in the morning before school, you're going to find that every single one of these is pretty much going to have, I mean, I don't know if the answers are exact, but they are very close. All I did was just change some numbers, okay? Let's look down here at 2. All right, when we did these in class, we tried to do it without calculating. Remember that? But this is a test. So sometimes I think it'd be better just to calculate it. So what's 100 times 7? Okay.
30.
So 25 times 3 would be what?
75.
75. Then put my 0 back on. So calculating that out made it pretty easy, didn't it? Which one's larger? 750. Now this next one, look at it carefully.
Oh,
11s is the most important word here.
yeah.
11s. So I'm going to call this 76 11s. How did I know that 11s was an important word?
11.
It's right there, isn't it? Okay. Now, do you remember my little trick for when we have 2 multiplication problems?
Yes.
What do I want to do first?
Take out the 0.
No?
Take off the things that are the same.
Add the
So take off the things that are the same. What's 80 minus 5?
75.
So I've got 75 11s here. Good job, Raymond. So which one's larger?
76.
76 11s. Cool. You guys did great, okay?
Don't go no bad.
Now, what could I take off of this one?
So,
24.
No?
20.
The 26s. So here's what I've got. I've got 48, and I've got 24 doubled.
It's equal.
It is. What's 24 times 2?
48.
48. Okay, are you glad Raymond remembered to take off the part that's the same?
Yeah.
I am too. Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay, it says solve. Use worse numbers or pictures to explain how your answers to part A and B are related. Don't worry, you need to sit up straight. So what's my strategy for multiplying 35 times 60?
Take out
Take
the
out the
0.
0.
Take off the 0, so I'll do 35 times 6. And then when I write my answer, what do I need to put back on?
The 0.
The 0. Okay, if you haven't written that yet, you should. Now, this answer is very similar. I see all the same digits, don't you? Yes, I'm going to pull a stick. So Miguel, if I have all the same digits in the problem, I'm going to have all the same digits in the answer, aren't I? What's the only difference here? I hope that's what he said. Do I need that last zero? No, I don't. Okay? All right. Now, when it says to show how your answers are related, that means we have to show how they're alike and show how they're different. So how are these two answers alike? Let's do alike. They both have same digits. Good. Write that down. So they both have the same digits, but which answer's larger? A or B? A is by how much?
10 by 10 digits by 1 digit.
You're on the right track. He said 10. No?
By 1.
It's actually 10 times larger. It's not just larger by 10, is it? Because that would be plus 10. Okay? So you're on the right track. They both have the same digits, but part A is 10 times larger than part B. All right, now number 4 we're going to save till the end of class because I want to make sure we have enough time to do it. Okay, so we're going to skip down to number 5 right now. How many of you think you can memorize this sentence?
Yeah, I can.
Well, you can memorize all those math facts, and you can memorize science things for your science test. So I think you can memorize this. The only reason you wouldn't be able to memorize is if you didn't try. Correct? Yeah. All right, let's look at 5. We'll come back to 4 if we have time. Okay, question 5. All right, let's read this problem. For a field trip, the school bought 53 sandwiches for $3.75. Don't start writing yet. And 47 bags of chips for $1.65 each. How much did the school spend in all? Now here's what I want you to do. This is actually a 3-step problem. So I need you to have, don't make these very big, but a 1 and a 2 and a 3 here. Did you write what I just wrote? Now, the 53 sandwiches goes together with the 375. So circle that and put a 1. That's your first step. And the 47 bags of chips goes with the $1.65. What should we put above that? A 2. That's your second step. What in the world's my third step?
Counting them both together.
Thanks for raising your hand, Liliana. How much did they spend in all? Raymond says that's adding it up together. Do you agree?
Yeah.
So that's number 3. Put a little bitty 3 there, okay? Now, when I do 53 sandwiches for $3.75, is that addition or multiplication? Multiplication, okay? If you're going to go buy 53 sandwiches from Subway, you know what they're going to do? They're going to put 53 in the cash register times however much they cost, okay? So $3.75 times 53. Now I want you to look at something here. I'm not going to put my dollar sign on until I get my answer, because that's just going to confuse me. And the next one is $1.65 times 47. Once you get those done, then you can do the addition. Okay, and I'm going to pause this while we're working on it. So go ahead and check your answer with mine. Check your answers with mine. If you don't have the dollar sign and the decimal on each answer, am I going to count it wrong or correct?
Wrong.
Wrong. Okay. I'm ready to turn over to the next page. If you're not done with this, that's okay. We'll come back and finish it later. So last page. Now on this last page, it's always the hardest page, and then you're the most tired when you get to this page. And this page, your answer to the first one has to be correct, or you're going to miss a whole bunch of questions. Okay? So before we do anything, we're going to write some notes up here. I want you to write 1.5 yards at the top. And I want you to write 74 bows, and you'll understand why we're writing these in a little while. But just write them for now. On the test, instead of 74, it's 84. So if you want to practice for the test tonight, change 74 to 84. All right, Marcy makes hair bows to sell at the craft fair. Each bow requires 1.5 yards of ribbon, okay? At the fabric store, ribbon is sold by the foot. If Marcy wants to make 74 bows, how many feet of ribbon must she buy? Show all your work. Do this. Part 1, part 2. If you don't complete both parts, you're going to miss -4 on each part. So this is a total of 8 points for this problem. Okay. All right. So before I think I want to change it to feet at the end. Don't you? So let's figure out how many yards they need to start with. Marcy needs. How many bows is she going to make? And how many yards does each bow need? Okay, multiply that together and see what you get. You can't see mine very well.
Wait, you're probably good. We probably want to solve this ourselves.
What's my label for this? 111 what?
Yards.
Yards. Okay. I'll tell you the number one mistake that kids make on the test. They forget to place the decimal in this problem. In this answer. And then they go over here and they take this, so they forget the decimal. So they start with the wrong number on part 2, and they're going to get the wrong answer. Okay? So I've got 111 yards equals blank feet. Write that down. How many sets of equal signs do we need? 3. Okay. I'm going to start with 1 yard here. Destiny, how many feet are in a yard? 3 feet. So 1 yard equals 3 feet. Crystal, what do I multiply together? Good. And if you want to write down standard algorithm and multiply that out, that's fine with me. Or you could just do it in your head. Now, tomorrow, you won't be able to do it in your head. You'll have to write it down, okay? Because it's not 111. I don't know what it is. So how many feet is this? 333 feet. Okay? That's the answer to the first problem. Now, guess what? We need that answer for this problem right here. So draw yourself a little arrow. Okay? Now here's what it says. We got to figure out how much all this ribbon is going to cost. So if it cost $1 a foot, it would cost us $333 to make those 74 bows. But the good news is it only costs 10 cents a foot. So I'm going to do 333 times, and we're going to have to talk about how to do 10 cents. So Adrian, tell me what you just said.
1/10.
He said 1/10. Is 10 cents 1/10 of $1?
Yes.
So we could do it that way, okay? Or we could write 10 cents as a decimal and then take off that 0. Is that the same thing that Adrian just told us to do? Yes. Okay? So if I'm going to multiply times a number less than 1, which way does my decimal go? Left. How many places for 10? So $33 and
3 cents.
no. Because money has to be hundredths place. You're right. So tomorrow you're going to have to put a 0 on it, or it's not going to be right. All right? I'm helping you too much, aren't I?
No.
Okay, let's go down to the last one, and then we'll go back and multiply.
Could we maybe go back to lesson 6 while
Yes, we sure will. Okay, so I'm going to read this, and then we're going to put a box around certain things. A manufacturer is making 1,000 times as many bows as Marcy to sell in stores nationwide. Write an expression using exponents to show how many yards of ribbon the manufacturer will need. Do not calculate the total. Now, we're going to break this apart so you can figure out what you need to do. First of all, look back at the very first problem on your paper. The middle column where we just wrote the digits and the parentheses, that's what an expression is. It's just numbers and symbols. Okay? All right. So we're going to have to use an expression. Now, let's put a box around this 1,000 times. I think that's important, don't you? And then we're going to put a box around the bows and the yards. And there's one more thing that's important. Does anybody know what it is? The exponents. Why don't we circle exponents? Okay, so here's what we need. How many bows did Marcy make? No. 74. Didn't we write ourselves a note at the top of the page?
Oh, yeah.
74 bows. So put a 74 there. How many yards of ribbon did one bow take?
1.5.
1.5. Good. Remember what an exponent is? It's that little bitty number beside the 10. The powers of 10 written in exponential form. So 1,000, 10 to the third power. Now we just put this into an expression. So I think, this is my opinion, I want to keep 1,000 at the end. So we can just add 3 zeros or whatever, or hop it, right? So what will I put inside here?
74 times
times 1.5
times 1,000.
times 1,000. And guess what? You're done. You don't have to figure out the answer. It says do not calculate. Okay? Now, we've got about 10 minutes, 9 minutes. Let's finish the one we skipped. So, multiply using the standard algorithm.
Do we actually do it?
Yes, go ahead and do it now. You'll have enough time.
I'll beat you.
Okay. I'm going to pause it while we work on it. All right, so take a look at my answers. Make sure yours are the same. Notice I put a comma in it when I rewrote it. That's probably a good idea, isn't it? Yeah. All right, so that's your test review. Good job today.